Give me a second. Check this out. Make sure we are live on Facebook. We are live on Facebook. Fantastic. So it looks like everything's ready to roll. Then we gotta pick a song. Oh, this is the song I was thinking of. All right, gang. Let's get started. Give me 1 second. Let me start this. I want to start a backup. Hold on a second. While we're doing this, I want to be backing up my drive. Give me 1 second. Whoops, it's not going to work. Okay, let me just cancel this. Give me 1 second. Great, okay. Sorry for the delay. Oh, okay. Got it. Here we go. That gives more people time to get on anyway. All right, we're going to start chanting. Go Ranga, go Ranga, go Ranga. Hold on a second. People are so stupid, they call me at the beginning of class. Let me just turn this off so it won't interfere with what we're doing. All right. Sorry for the delay. Okay, here we go. Prema Bhakti Javanasayate Vede Gaya Jarita Shiyuka Unasindu Adamadinada Bandu Ukana Kera Jivana Aprabu Kodadaya Devore Padachaya Ebias Kusutri Buvana Ebias Kusutri Buvana Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Namaho Vishanupadaya Krishna Kristaya Bhutale Ate Dividanta Saminti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Vivasesha Shunyavadi Ashachani Satarane Shri Krishna Caitanya Ramanityananda Shidwaita Radhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Jivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Jivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Prabhupada 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 Haribo 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 Nijago Haribo 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 Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravittacharya also Teta Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanad Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founderacharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantagoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Param Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Govinath Sai Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuram Ki Jai Jagadasami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Shrimati Thalasi Vigajai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinigajai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Budale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Deja Tarane Shi Haribo Haribo Haribo. Okay. So Omaganati Miranda Shagananjana Shlakaya Chakshunan Meditam Yena Tuzmai Shigadave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkest of the darkness of ignorance. Really terrible ignorance. So anyway, on that happy note, we'll go on to the tree Caitanya Caritamrta. We're reading from the Madhya Lila chapter 6, and we've just finished the portion where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu converts Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya into a full-fledged Vaishnava devotee, from being a Mayavadi impersonalist, bewildered soul who was following Shankaracharya's Sharirakya Bhasha. So, at this particular juncture, Lord Chaitanya is very happy, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is very happy, Lord Nityananda is happy, everybody's dancing in ecstasy and embracing each other, and let's see what happens from this point forward. And as we know, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is an incarnation of Brahaspati from the heavenly planets. So, being an incarnation of Brahaspati, we understand this is a pastime. It is not that Brahaspati was in ignorance or anything like that. But sometimes when the devotees come and they appear in the Lord's pastimes, they take the position even of demons or Mayavadis or persons who don't understand the Lord's nature. This is the nature of the Lord's pastimes. Okay. And the devotees under Yogamaya. We are presently under Mahamaya. Mahamaya means that we are forgetting who Krishna is. We are taking an improper position. What is our improper position? Moma ijadi yatirtha buddhi shalile nakari chit janeshu abigeshu seva gokara. We are like cows and asses. Because we go to a holy place to take a bath rather than hearing from the saintly persons. We don't understand the importance of transcendental sound vibration. Everybody's running from one tirtha to another and thinking this is going to get me liberation. But what gives you liberation is Shru Shru Shro Shradanasha Vasudevikata Ruchishan Mahat Sevya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nashevanat. Hearing from the great souls. That's what gets you liberation. You want to get liberation? Of course, Krishna conscious liberation, not just impersonal mukti. Then you hear, by the hearing and chanting. Of course, it went to the eyes. That's crazy. The hearing and the chanting, not by the seeing. Remember that. But everyone wants to go here, there. You know, it's like a so-called transcendental version of being a tourist. Like instead of going to see in Italy the Leaning Tower of Pisa, I know it's Pisa, but Leaning Tower of Pisa, they want to go the whole Char Dham thing. Now, you may say, there's nothing wrong with Char Dham. I understand that. However, one chanting of the holy names or 1 minute association with a pure devotee is more valuable than going to all the holy places. More about, that's what the Shastras say. This is not my personal opinion. You got to use your brain sometimes. Anyway, I could tell you stories, but I don't want to offend anybody. I have to be very careful not to offend devotees. I mean, if we have faith in something, it's all right. But I tell you, the faith in the holy name is much more important than faith in anything else. Because if you chant the holy name, Namachintamani Krishna's Caitanya Rasa Vigra Purna Shida Nichin Mukto Binatwam Namanamino. The holy name is non-different from Krishna. And then, of course, what is that? Golokera Prema Dana. Harinam Sankirtan. This Goloka Vrindavan emanates the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Golokera Prema Dana, Harinam Sankirtan, Prema Dana. The wealth of Prema comes down from Goloka Vrindavan in the Harinam Sankirtan. Try to remember that. Try to remember that. So you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. You are transported, if you pay attention, chant with devotion, you are transported to Goloka Vrindavan without having to spend any money for an airplane ticket or taking the trouble to get in some taxi somewhere. I'm not saying you shouldn't go to holy places, but you have to understand the relative benefit of the holy name as compared to the holy places. The holy name is infinitely more beneficial. And then, of course, it's non-different from Vrindavan, from Mayapur, like that, but as far as the benefit that a conditioned soul or a liberated soul receives, one cannot compare it to any other activity in this world. In other words, you should not compare the chanting of Hare Krishna to any other activity in this world. It's described that if you compare one chanting of Hare Krishna to millions of Ashwamedha sacrifices, you are a rascal, demon, Rakshasa, and nonsense to boot. Okay, so let's go on to the Caitanya Caritamrta with that brief introduction in mind. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Vrinda. Okay, we're on 228. Dvijane Dare Dunhe Karena Nar Tana Prabhu Brecha Dunhasparshe Donharapule Mana. The Lord and his servant embraced each other and began to dance. Simply by touching each other, they became ecstatic. That's, of course, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Sveda Kamba Shrudunhe Anande Bhasila Kanravishdahana Prabhu Kahite La Gila. As they danced and embraced, spiritual symptoms manifested in their bodies. They perspired, trembled, and shed tears. And the Lord began to speak in his ecstasy. Aji Muni Anayase Jininu Tribhuvana Aji Muni Karinu Vaikunta Arohana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, today I have conquered the three worlds very easily. Today I have ascended to the spiritual world. So the goal of human perfection is stated here in brief. One has to surpass all the planetary systems of the material universe, pierce through the covering of the universe, and reach the spiritual world known as Vaikuntha Loka. The Vaikuntha Lokas are variegated spiritual planets situated in the Lord's impersonal bodily effulgence, known as the Brahma Jyoti, that means the light of the Brahman. One may aspire to elevate himself to a heavenly planet within the material world, such as the moon, the sun, or Venus. But if one is spiritually advanced in Krishna consciousness, he does not wish to remain within the material universe or even in a higher planetary system. Rather, he prefers to penetrate the covering of the universe and attain the spiritual world. He can then be situated in one of the Vaikuntha planets there. However, the devotees under the guidance of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu aspire to reach the topmost spiritual planet, known as Goloka Vrindavana, the residence of Lord Sri Krishna and his eternal associates. Aji Mora Purna Haila Sarvahabilasha Sarvabhomera Haila Mahaprasade Vishvasa. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, I think that today all my desires have been fulfilled because I see that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya has acquired faith in the Mahaprasada of Lord Jagannath. Now let me explain what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is talking about. First of all, he's God. Believe it or not, he's God. So, as God, so he's acting in two capacities right now. One is as God, and another one as devotee of God. So as God, he's been hankering for his devotees to come back to him, and he's wondering when will they come back, and he becomes so happy, like in the story of the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, when Gopa Kumar finally comes back to Godhead, then we find the Lord Krishna, embracing him and fainting in ecstasy. So the Lord is happy that his devotee has reached perfection. And what is that perfection? Shraddha. Because if one has faith in the Mahaprasadam of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he can actually attain perfection, because the Mahaprasadam of the Supreme Lord is the Maha Mercy. Maha means great mercy. Because the Lord is present within the prasadam. So you're taking the Lord within your heart, or within your body, within your intestines. The whole body is permeated. Excuse me. Your whole body is permeated by the presence of the Lord. Wow. Isn't that cool? Because you are what you eat. And if you eat food that is not offered, that is not prasadam, then your whole body is permeated by different modes of nature. Like if you eat food in the mode of goodness, then is material mode of goodness. You're permeated by the mode of goodness. You feel really cool and charitable. And if you eat food in the mode of passion, it's not offered to Krishna, obviously, then you get really passionate. And if you eat food in the mode of ignorance, then you feel really dull. So your body and your consciousness becomes permeated. And the blood becomes permeated with certain subtle vibrations which influence the consciousness, and those are the modes of nature. So, anyway, so one who has faith, Mahaprasada Govindev, like that prayer goes, one should have faith in Mahaprasadam. So that's the first point. Then, so Krishna is pleased when his devotee has that faith, because Yasha Devi Parabhakti Yatate Vita Guru Dashaite Gatita Yartha Prakashante Mahatmana. That means one has achieved perfection. So that's the first point. Secondly, as a devotee, Lord Chaitanya in this particular context is also acting as a devotee. He is so happy because he's brought someone to Krishna's lotus feet. And Lord Chaitanya is showing us that the greatest ecstasy you can experience, or me too, is by bringing someone to Krishna consciousness. It's the greatest ecstasy. Yes, it's ecstatic to eat a ton of prasadam. Yes, it's ecstatic to go to a kirtan. That is ecstatic, certainly. A good kirtan. Yes, it's ecstatic to see the deities, but the greatest ecstasy you could get is the satisfaction, the happiness of bringing someone to Krishna's lotus feet. I know that somehow or other, when I am instrumental, of course, I don't think I am the doer, Krishna is the doer, but when I'm instrumental, Krishna uses me as an instrument to bring someone to his lotus feet, and then I bring that person before the deities, and I offer that person to Krishna. Here's the offering today, Krishna. Here's the boga, or bogi, sorry. Here's the bogi, and now he's going to become prasadi. So that's the greatest happiness that we can experience, because that's Krishna Nam Sankirtan. And sometimes you just bring a person one step towards Krishna. A person just says Hare Krishna once. And sometimes you can bring a person all the way. You can be instrumental in bringing a person all the way. And sometimes you can just get someone to say Gauranga once. And that's so ecstatic. I have one disciple in the UK who approaches roughly 80 to 100 people every day and gets them to say Gauranga, sometimes more than 100, and gives them Gauranga stickers. And she's in ecstasy all the time. Actually, I planned this out. I'm going to show you a video of one of the people she approached, as she's really like Patita Pavana. Of course, Lord Chaitanya is Patita Pavana. I understand that. No one else can be Patita Pavana other than Lord Chaitanya. But I will show you a video. Hopefully this will work. And I will share the screen. This will be a brief intermission. It'll just say, I already have it prepared, so don't worry. Prabhus, Prabhis. Wait a second. Huh. I understand. Here we go. All right. Wait a second. Let me show you the video. Share. I guess I got to stop. Oh, new share. Where is it? Show all windows. Wait a second. I got so many windows open. I had it planned. The best laid plans of mice and men. Hold on a second. I have to open another app. And you'll see the mercy of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Give me 1 second. You will see, hopefully, if Krishna's merciful enough to me. Sometimes Krishna's merciful, and sometimes he's not. He's not. I mean, Krishna's always merciful. Sorry about that. All right. We're going to show this. It's get it ready. Hold on a second. This is just very short video. Okay. I will share the screen right now. All right. Okay, here we go. You get a chance to see with the mercy of Krishna's devotees.
Gauranga Shadrach.
Gauranga to you too.
I wanted to ask you, how did you learn about Gauranga?
Well, I first heard about Gauranga when I got like talking to a lovely a friend of mine who was holding the camera, and I was going through a hard time because I was going through a lot of like racism. I've been cheated on by my ex-girlfriends and stuff, and then I've been angry. you know, then I just did like so many mistakes over the years. But I just got talking to a wonderful friend of mine. You know, I just she told me about like Garanga, and it means, you know, be happy. So yeah, ever since then I've been happy.
And you've been telling your mum about Gauranga, haven't you?
Yeah, I have.
And has it made a difference to her?
Mhm.
She loves it, huh?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
that's wonderful.
Oh yeah. She does.
Fabulous. And can you say one loud Gauranga for the camera?
Garanga.
Gauranga Shadrach.
Let me go back to sharing the screen. Okay. All right. Whoops. I have to just go. Did everyone see that? Someone should just send me a message. Yes, no, maybe. Yes. Okay, good. Okay, that's all I need. Don't need any more messages. So isn't that very enlivening that we see just a lady going out, a simple, humble lady, not like me, her guru, who's not simple and humble, and I'm not a lady either.
Ask you,
Whoops.
how did you learn?
Going out and preaching Krishna consciousness and just getting people that, whoops. Wait a second. The phone is just acting up. This is simply
Not simple and humble.
About Gauranga.
so it just gives one great faith in the holy names and in the potency of Krishna consciousness, and it just makes one ecstatic. So this is what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is experiencing as a devotee of the Lord, bringing someone to Krishna consciousness. It is the most pleasurable, ecstatic, wonderful activity you could engage in. And it's everyone's duty. As Lord Chaitanya says, anyone born in the land of Bhartavarsha. Now I understand generally you take that as India, but Bhartavarsha refers to the whole planet. Has as his duty pada upakara, for work to work for the benefit of others. Okay, let's continue. After that brief intermission. Aji tumi nishka pate haila Krishna shraya Krishna ji nishka pate toma haila sadaya. Indeed, today you have undoubtedly taken shelter to the lotus feet of Krishna, and Krishna without reservation has become very merciful toward you. Ajit say Kandila Tomara Dehari Bandana Aji Tumi China Kaile Mayara Bandana. My dear Bhattacharya, today you have been released from material bondage and the bodily conception of life. You have cut to pieces the shackles of the illusory energy. Aji Krishna Prapti Yogya Haila Tomara Mana Veda Dharma Langi Koila Prasada Bhakshana. Today your mind has become fit to take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, because surpassing the Vedic regulated principles, you have eaten the remnants of food offered to the Lord. Ooh. Yesham Sahesha Bhagavandaya Yedananta Sarvatmana Shitapato Yadi Nivyalikam Te Dushtaram Atitaranti Jadeva Mayam Naisham Amaham Iti Dishra Shringala Bakshay. When a person takes shelter in the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead without reservation. Does everyone know what reservation means? It doesn't mean you make a reservation. It means without any hindrance. No haitaki pratiyatap, no material cause, and nothing stops you. Completely, 100%. Anyabi lashata shunyam. The unlimited, merciful Lord bestows his causeless mercy upon him. Thus he can pass over the insurmountable ocean of nescience. That means ignorance. Those whose intelligence is fixed in the bodily conception who think I am this body are fit food for dogs and jackals. The Supreme Lord never bestows his mercy upon such people. The reason It's really interesting. The reason dogs and jackals are used, because in India, these two animals eat dead bodies. Sorry. Sorry to offend anyone's sensibilities there. The Supreme Lord never bestows his benediction upon those fixed in the bodily conception, as Krishna clearly states in the Bhagavad Gita 1866. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam braja aham tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshayashami ma shuchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So, does that mean we should give up religion? Haribo? No. But sectarian religious concepts, sectarian religious rituals, we should see them as simply details. Every one of us is born in certain cultures where there are traditions, sectarian concepts, attachments, methodologies of dressing and greeting each other and all that other stuff. And generally that's taken as religion. In the Bhagavatam it says in Kali Yuga religion will simply be considered a change of dress or a type of dress. That's Kali Yuga. If you have a beard, you're a Muslim. And if you have a yarmulke, you're a Jewish. And if you have a dhoti, you could be anything. If you have a Sikha, you're a Vaishnava, even if you're a demon. So anyway, because we confuse all these external things to be religion. What is actual... The word religion means to tie yourself back. To tie yourself back to your origin, who is Krishna. Aham sarvasva prabhavo. But really, religion in this particular context of 1866 is mundane, sectarian religion, different rituals. And the point is, we're simply interested in chanting Krishna's names and entering into a relationship with Krishna and our eternal relationship with Krishna. And of course, in order to do that, we have to avoid things that are against spirituality. What's against spirituality? Spirituality. Illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, gambling, of course. Offending Vaishnavas, associating with people who are just so materialistic. So we just, you avoid getting dirty if you want to stay clean. Hare Krishna. That's not religion. That's just common sense. If your mother says, don't play in the mud, and you say, I'm not going to follow your religion. That's not religion. If you want to get clean, don't play in the mud. This verse, the verse that Caitanya Mahaprabhu quoted, that's from the Bhagavatam 2.7.42, explains the meaning of Sri Krishna's statement. Krishna bestowed his causeless mercy upon Arjuna just to get him out of the bodily conception. This was done at the very beginning of the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, 2.13, where Krishna says, Dehinosmin yata dehe komaram yavanam jara. In this body there is an owner, and one should not consider the body to be the self. This is the first instruction to be assimilated by a devotee. First thing, you ain't the body. You're in the body. If you don't understand that, you don't even have the A's of the ABCs. If you think this is his body, and when I die, the body goes back to Godhead, or when I die, that's it, finished, finito, bas, then spiritual life really doesn't manifest in your heart. If one is under the bodily conception, he is unable to realize his true identity and engage in loving devotion and service of the Lord. Unless one comes to the transcendental position, he cannot expect the causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord, nor can he cross over the vast ocean of material nations. Lord Krishna confirms this in the Bhagavad Gita 7.14. What does he say? Mame bhye prapachante mayame tam tarantite. So, That verse states this material energy is very difficult to overcome, but one who surrenders, oh my God, what a horrible word, surrenders. One who gives his heart to me, he can easily cross beyond it. Without giving one's heart, surrendering unto the lotus feet of Krishna, one has to be ready to understand what Prabhupada means by surrendering. One cannot expect, it's not like there's a gun to your head. Krishna did not put a gun to Arjuna's head. He just explained the natural repercussions for each course of action. That's really how Krishna does things. Because in the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, now you heard it, do what you want, Prabhu. And Arjuna makes the right choice. But had he made the wrong choice, Krishna would say, that's your karma. One cannot expect release from the clutches of Maya, the illusory energy. According to Srimad Bhagavatam 10:2-32, Mayavadi sannyasis who falsely think Yene Ravanjacha Vimuktimanina as liberated from the page down. Clutches of Maya are called Vimuktamanina. They're liberated only in their mind. Not really. Actually, the pipe dream. Like in your mind, you can think you're the king of England or something like that. I dreamt I was the king of England. I dreamt I was whatever. I was a cockroach. Actually, they are not liberated, but they think that they have become liberated and have become Narayan himself. Although they have apparently realized that they are not the material body but spirit soul, they nonetheless neglect the duty of the spirit soul, which is to render service to the Supreme Soul. Therefore, their intelligence remains unsatisfied. Avashuddha buddhya, that's from the same verse. That means impure intelligence. Unless one's intelligence is sanctified, one cannot apply it to understand devotional service. Devotional service begins when the mind, intelligence, and ego are completely purified. The mind. In the material world, the mind is accepting, rejecting things based on sense gratification. Intelligence is what? One's long-term plans for accomplishing whatever goal you have. Now, purified means intelligence is focused on the goal of Krishna consciousness. And ego is the sense of self. In the material world, we have false ego, I and mine. I am this body. This is mine, my body, my family. That's false ego. Real ego is purified ego, which is the same thing as real ego, is I belong to Krishna. I am part and parcel of Krishna. Not only that, but Jivera Swarupahoy Nitya Krishnas. I am a servant of Krishna, Gopi Bharta Padakamala Dasa Dasa Dasana Das. I'm a servant of a servant of a servant of the servant of a servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. Mayavadi sannyasis do not purify their intelligence, mind, and ego, and consequently, they cannot engage in the service of the Lord or expect the cause of mercy of the Lord. Although they rise to a very high position by executing severe austerities and penances, they still hover in the material world without the benediction of the lotus feet of the Lord. Sometimes they rise to the Brahman effulgence. But because their minds are not completely purified, they must return to the material existence. Ariya Krishna Parampadam, as the Bhagavatam describes. The karmis are fully under the bodily concept of life. Karmis means those who act, or those who act on the bodily concept of life. And the jnanis, well, that means the thoughtful ones, although theoretically understanding they are not the body, also have no information about the lotus feet of the Lord because they overly stress impersonalism. Consequently, both the karmis and jnanis are unfit for receiving the mercy of the Lord and becoming devotees. Narottama Das Thakur therefore says, Karmakanda Jnanakanda Kevala Vishadabandha. Those who have taken to the process of Karmakanda, fruitive activities, or activity, and Jnanakanda, speculation on the science of transcendence, have simply eaten from poisoned pots. In other words, their spiritual life is poisoned. They're condemned to remain in the material existence life after life until they take shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. This is confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in another famous verse, 7th chapter, text 19. Bahunam janmanamante Gyanavan mam prapajate vasudeva sarvam niti sa mahatma sudurlabhaha. After many births and deaths, he was actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, that's Krishna, knowing me, that's Krishna, to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So we are so fortunate. Not that we're thinking, I'm a great soul, therefore, I've surrendered to Krishna. Have you actually surrendered? Let's say given your heart to Krishna. Let's translate that word, surrender, since it appears a little harsh for everybody. Eta kahi mahaprabhu aila nijastane sehaite bhattacharya kandilaha vimane. After speaking to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in this way, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu returned to his residence. From that day on, the Bhattacharya was free because his false pride had been dismantled. So in other words, what entangles us is our false pride. I and mine. I am important. We were having this discussion the other day. It was interesting. Actually, it was in our guru discussion. We had a meeting of all the gurus in the movement. It was online, of course, and we were discussing, how do you remain humble if you're sitting on a big seat and everybody is offering their prayers and pranams and glorification to you and fanning you, and it's just like one of those Bollywood films where there's two girls on either side with the chamaras who are fanning you, and you're on the lion throne, Singhasana. Singhasana means lion throne. That's what. And actually, in the Vyasasana in our temple here is a Singhasana because it has lions on the arms over there. Carved, of course. So, how do you remain humble in such a position? Well, you have to remember that you're a servant. And you're doing that service, but you have to be ready to do whatever service Krishna wants you to do. You can't think, I'm too good now to do this other service. I'm more advanced. In the old days, I used to clean, I used to do gardening. But now I've become an advanced devotee, and I'm too good for those things. So the point I made to all the gurus in our movement is that one should not only be ready to do some humble service, but show the other devotees by example that you do not only are ready, or say you're ready, but you actually perform some humble service. One day you do some gardening. Next day you may paint the temple. And next day you may fix the electrical work on the temple, if you happen to be an electrician. And otherwise you may electrocute everybody and send everybody back to Godhead sooner, which you don't want to do, even though it's a guru's position, duty to send everybody back to Godhead as soon as possible. But not that way, Prabhu. So, in other words, you have to be ready to do something humble. And happy at it, not just thinking, I got to do this. But be happy because you're a servant. You never forget that you're a servant. What does it mean, servant? Because that word is also not so fantastic nowadays, servant. Oh, my God. You think that you're working out of love for Krishna and ready to do anything for your beloved. Anything for your beloved. Just like someone working a job is undergoing so much austerity for their beloved family. The little children, the babies, and the wifeys. Oh, not wifeys, one wife. The babies and the wife, or husband, as the case may be. And they're happy because they're doing it out of love. So that's really what service means, not that one is in a mundane sense servant, but one identifies himself or herself as someone that pleases one's beloved. That's all. Very, very simple. Okay, so we are going to end here. Let me mark down where we ended today. We ended on 236. And now we will take some questionitos. Stop sharing. Unmute or allow you all to unmute yourselves. Okay, who in their right mind would like to ask some questions? That's a funny way to put it.
If nobody has a question, then I'll ask Guru Maharaj.
Why don't give some other devotees an opportunity,
Yes.
because you've been asking a lot of questions. Someone else should ask questions. Otherwise, Rakesh will ask questions again. Anyone else want to ask questions? Now's your opportunity.
Gurudev,
Oh, okay. Sumukh, I guess you go
okay,
first.
okay, Gurudev. Okay, Gurudev, I want a small question. This morning I was trying to break the Tulsi for Krishna. Then I realized that this Tulsi tree is so great that it is serving the Supreme Lord at the lotus feet.
Yeah.
And what if devotees like me pray that in the next life I can be a Tulsi tree as well? I'm thinking maybe they are Jew Tattva, I don't understand.
Tulsi is a special devotee. You're not going to become a Tulsi tree, but you can become the dust on the roots of the Tulsi tree if you like.
Okay.
It's like you're not going to become Mother Yashoda. If you know the Tulsi Shaligram's Vivaha story, you know that Tulsi is a special gopi and she got cursed. And she's taken birth as a tree. I mean, anyway, she got that blessing that she would take birth as a Tulsi tree, and she also is in the spiritual world simultaneously. But it's not that you could take birth as a Tulsi tree.
Okay.
You could take birth as a plum tree or as a coconut tree if you like.
Somehow the other serve Krishna.
You could take birth as a mushroom if you like too, you know. But you cannot take birth as a Tulsi tree, believe me. But you can serve a Tulsi tree, all right?
Understood, Gurudev.
Okay, good question. Maybe it's a good question. Oh, someone's asking me a question about polygamy. Someone's really interested here. Oh no, I won't answer it. I won't answer that question. You say, Lord's pure, Atmanandini asked the question. As you said, sometimes Lord pure devotees take the position of an adversary to assist the Lord. So should it be understood that Srila Prabhupada's Western disciples were just taking the garb of hippies to assist in Srila Prabhupada's lila? That is actually a good question. As funny as it sounds, as funny as that question sounds, that Srila Prabhupada did say that Lord Chaitanya arranged for many devotees to be born in the Western world so they could assist. Now, that's not to say that every hippie that became a devotee was actually placed there by the Lord specifically to assist Srila Prabhupada. That's not the same. But you can understand that certain people who were hippies before, Prabhupada once asked the question, what is a hippie? And Prabhupada said, it's something wonderful. You know what it is. But anyway, so you can understand that certain people were placed in the Western world by Lord Chaitanya to help Prabhupada, because when Prabhupada came to the Western world in 1965, he didn't have anybody. And then by 1966, 67, and you know, through the years afterwards, so many people joined Prabhupada, And it's just like they flock to Prabhupada. And so many great personalities like Tamal Krishna Maharaj, who previously looked like hippies, assisted Prabhupada in very wonderful ways. So we can say in case of certain individuals, yes, it's true. But not all hippies that joined Prabhupada were part of like Krishna's lila. Some were just like saved by Prabhupada, and they weren't put there by Krishna previously. They were put there by their karma and their desire, and they came in contact with Prabhupada, and by Prabhupada's mercy, they actually became devotees. So yes, that is a good question, and it's partially true. So who else had a question? Someone else who hasn't asked a question in a while should ask a question. Everyone's quiet tonight. We got 44 people. There should be someone who hasn't asked a question.
Hare Krishna Gurudev. Madam,
Sita, Hare Krishna, good to see you.
good to see you too, Maharaj. Gurudev, I have a question in regards to one of the classes you took the other day. You mentioned that saving humanity is connected with saving Krishna. So I was just wondering, when we are kind and we are to others, sometimes there are people who take that as a weakness and tries to control you. So how should we deal with that when you are being controlled by others? Should we? Yeah.
I understand your question. There's actually two parts to your question. First of all, it's not necessarily true that when serving humanity, it's service to Krishna. It's only true when we actually serve them in a Krishna conscious way. We bring them to Krishna. That's first thing, because people could ask us to serve them in so many ways, and that's not necessarily service to Krishna. I mean, someone could ask me to buy them a car. Someone could ask me so many things. Someone can ask me to buy them a cigarette, or buy them a bottle of beer, or buy them anything. But so bringing them closer to Krishna, serving them in such a way that brings them close to Krishna, that is service to Krishna. That's the first point. Secondly, when we are humble and we're serving people, we don't have to do what they ask for because their needs are unlimited. We should not be controlled by their needs. We should give them what they actually need, which is Krishna consciousness, and also prasadam, and also, like if someone is suffering, obviously, as a Krishna conscious devotee, and they need something to eat, then we have to give them something to eat. If someone is suffering because they don't have adequate clothes, we can give them clothes, but chant Hare Krishna to them at the same time. But serving others doesn't mean that we do what they ask for all the time, because what they ask for may not be good. Okay, my microphone went out for a second. We do what Krishna wants in relationship to that particular person, and that's how we serve them. And that requires some discrimination. Not what they ask for. Because it's not necessarily true that material service for other people is not service to God. But spiritual service for other people, seeing everyone as part and parcel of Krishna, is service to Krishna. Okay?
Okay. Thank you, Gurudev.
Good question. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
One day we'll be in Australia again if
We miss you so much, Gurudev.
everything works out all right. Okay, so who else has a question? No one else has a question here. Oh, wait, Rakesh, just give it 1 second. We will have to see if someone else has a question. There's so many devotees. Someone must have a question other than Rakesh.
Kayur has it, Guru Maharaj. He raised his hand up.
Who?
Kayur, Kayur.
Kali Yug?
No, no, Kayur, Keyur. He raised his hand up, so I think he has a question.
Yeah, all right. Take yourself off mute. I don't see him.
Obeisance to Guru Maharaj. Thank you
Good.
so much.
Good to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you so much for the wonderful explanation. So I'm I'm kind of a novice into the Krishna consciousness. Probably started in last couple of years. So sometimes we feel very less motivated, and we are like distressed or something. So how can we keep motivated all the time so that we can continue and progress in the Krishna consciousness?
Okay, that's a good question. Well, when we find our motivation sometimes increasing, sometimes decreasing, that's due to the mind. Because the mind is influenced by different association at certain times due to the fact that we're here in the material world. Sometimes the mind is influenced by the mode of goodness, sometimes passion, sometimes ignorance. And it just changes moment to moment, day to day, week to week, time of the day, to different times of the day. So therefore, our sense of motivation should be coming from the intelligence. Now, what is the intelligence? Intelligence, I was actually describing this to someone today. The intelligence means to understand one's long-term goals or even medium-term goals. I mean, for example, let's just take a practical example in this world. Let us say your goal is to make money. I know it's not to make money, but let's say your goal is to make money. And so in order to make money, it's necessary you get up early and you go to work at, let's say, at 5 o'clock in the morning. Let's just take that hypothetically. And then you work till 8 o'clock at night. Now that's hard, isn't it? I mean, that's really hard. 5 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night doesn't give you much time to spend with your family, to watch Bollywood movies or anything like that. So therefore, the mind is telling you what? This is too hard. This is too hard. And so, but your goal is so much important to you that you actually ignore the mind. I've seen that with people in this world. And many times I've given my father as an example. He was very much oriented to making money. So he was able to, he got up at 3 o'clock in the morning and took rest at 10 or 11 o'clock at night. Much more than practically any spiritualist I have ever met in my life. So determined, except for Prabhupada, of course. So, because he kept that goal in his mind. And in Bhagavad Gita, you find that described, not a material goal, but vyavasayatmika buddhire keha kuranandana. That those who are actually successful in Krishna consciousness, bahushak, that vyavasayatmika buddhire, aka their mind is fixed, not mind, let's say their intelligence. Ekeha kuranandana. Their intelligence is fixed on a particular goal, and that goal is to please Krishna or become Krishna conscious or to please the spiritual master. And they're able to overcome all sorts of obstacles. Because normally, in the performance of any activity in this world, there will be times when the mind will be depressed, or there will be times when the body will have a lack of physical energy, or there will be times when people will oppose you. Any endeavors like that, whether it is a spiritual endeavor or a material endeavor, there's always going to be ups and downs on all the different platforms or planes, let's use the word planes, of existence. Whether we're talking about the spiritual plane, material plane, physical plane, psychological plane, emotional plane, or whatever, there's going to be these dips and dives. Dips and dives, same thing. Hills and valleys. Okay, let's use a different expression. There's going to be hills and valleys. But if one's mind is focused on the goal, what you want, and that goal orientation in Krishna consciousness is done with the motivation that comes from bhakti or love. That's why Krishna consciousness is called bhakti yoga. Now, if one is performing hatha yoga or jnana yoga or any other type of yoga, the goal orientation is not as strong because it's not based upon love. If it's based upon love, then one becomes very, very strong and one becomes very one-pointed. And for example, in my own life, just giving my own example, I'm determined because I'm thinking of my relationship with Prabhupada and serving Prabhupada's mission. So I have a personal relationship with Prabhupada, and that relationship is very strong and it's real. Because, why is it real? Because the service of the spiritual master is a manifestation of the spiritual master's presence. So when I'm serving Prabhupada, I'm with Prabhupada. So one could do many things out of love. I was just talking to one of my disciples yesterday, and she's going back to India right now. And I was asking, why are you going back to India? It's the middle of the crisis and everything like that. I'm certainly not going to India now until the COVID crisis is over in India. I said, what? How can you do that? She's a citizen in the United States. She's only an OCI in India. You know what an OCI is, right? Of course you do. Everybody knows what that is. And she said, I'm going back because my family needs me. So I was hearing that and thinking, wow, that is, devotion for one's family. I'm not going to say anything about that, but it's the love and feeling of dedication, loyalty, which is really not so present nowadays. It's quite interesting. That's why you have so many marriages split up, because the people don't feel loyal to each other. Neither the man nor the woman, neither of them are thinking of this sense of loyalty and love. They're thinking, when the going gets tough, I'll get going. As the saying goes, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Well, they're actually taking that in a different way. When the going gets tough, they get going, gone. So the sense of commitment is actually part of love. Without commitment, there's no love. And without love, there's no commitment. Actually, the two go very much together. So, anyway, so that's a source of motivation, but the focus has to be on the intelligence, and therefore Krishna consciousness is called Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi Yoga means intelligence yoga, not mana yoga, mind yoga. It's intelligence yoga. So in other words, you fix your goal, but hopefully the goal is based on devotion. In the beginning, it may not be based on devotion, maybe based on desire for liberation, maybe desire to get out of a painful situation. It may be a desire for knowledge, etc., as Krishna describes in the Gita. But at least there should be an unbroken connection with a goal that keeps one fixed through the ups and downs of the mind. I hope that explains it. Is that all right?
Yeah, thank you so much, Babu. So, if you don't mind, can I ask a follow-up question on that, what you said, if you have the
Yes.
time?
Yes, sure.
Okay, thank you. So, you said that the love, once you develop a love for Krishna, right?
Yeah.
And in a material world, love is the base or foundation for any kind of a relationship.
Right.
So, but the thing is that in today's world, age of Kali, the true love itself is like kind of absent, right? Probably.
That's right.
Yeah. So then, how can we have that true love, which can be developed for Krishna?
Because that true love is there in your heart. It just has to be uncovered. It's not manifest so much in Kali Yuga because of the influence of the age, but through the chanting of the Lord's holy names, Cheto Darpanam Arjanam Bhava Mahadvagni Nirvapanam, the dust or the dirt in the heart can be eradicated so that true emotional self, the loving self, can be manifested. All right?
All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you very much. So we have to end now. It's time. Thank you. And everybody's welcome to join us tomorrow, same time and same station. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.